Hello crocheting ladies! What are you crocheting these days? As for me, I continue building my fall wardrobe, and just in one day I made myself this beautiful vest with a big collar. You're not going to believe how easy it is to crochet, but I will gladly show you and teach you, so you can make one for yourself too. And yes, it can be easily made in any size. The pattern for this vest is not stitch bound, it is measurement bound. And what that means is that you don't need to know the specific amount of chains to start with. What you do need to know is the length that corresponds to your specific size. And I will post all of that information in the description box below. Please let me know in the comments below what kind of other crochet fall projects you would like to see on my channel. And if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up, as it is a great motivation for me to keep creating and keep making new videos. Thank you. To make this top, I will be using Unforgettable yarn by Red Heart and a hook size J 6mm. I highly recommend that you use the same yarn, Unforgettable, for this project because this yarn is very soft and bouncy and the finished texture will be very stretchy, and that's exactly what we want for this project. I will give my affiliate link to where you can buy this yarn in the description box below. I'm making this top for myself in size small, so I will start with a chain 28 inches long. At this point I'm not counting the chains, I will count them later. All I need to do now is to crochet a chain 28 inches long. Here I have my chain and it's 28 inches long. When you measure your chain, do not stretch it. Measure it unstretched when it lays on the flat surface like this. So, okay, now I have 28 inches, and at this point I will go back and count the chains. We never count the chain on the hook, we only start counting from the next chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The multiple for this stitch is 6, so I need to make sure that my starting chain is divisible by 6. I counted the chains and I have 99 chains in total. However, 99 is not divisible by 6, but 96 is. So I'm going to remove 3 chains. 1, 2, 3. Now I have 96 chains, which is divisible by 6, and now I can join my chain into a ring. I need to be very careful here not to twist the chain when I join it. And it does twist a lot on its own, so I need to untwist it before I join. Here I untwisted my chain and joined it into a ring with a slip stitch. Next, I'm starting my first row. I make 1 chain, and into the same chain as joining I make a single crochet. Now all I need to do is to make a single crochet into each chain around. Here I am at the end of the first round, and I need to check that my first round is not twisted. It's not, so now I can join it with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Now I should count the amount of single crochets in my first round, and this amount should be the same as my starting chain. So let me count. 2, 4, 6, 8. I just counted the stitches and I have 96 single crochets, and I'm ready to start my next round. I start round 2 with a beginning V-stitch. This is how it's made. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the same stitch as joining I make a double crochet. So 3 of these chains will count as a double crochet, 1 chain counts as a chain, and this is my second double crochet. So this is how the beginning V-stitch is made. Next I skip 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and into the next single crochet I make a V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1, and into the same stitch another double crochet. So here's my next V-stitch is made. Again, I skip 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and into the next single crochet I make a V-stitch, a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. And I continue crocheting this way all the way around. Here I am at the end of the first round, and I join this round with a slip stitch to the third chain of the beginning chain 4. Now in this round the amount of V-stitches must be even, and the exact amount of V-stitches should be your starting chain divided by 3. My starting chain was 96. 96 divided by 3 gives me 32. So I have 32 V-stitches in round 1. You might have a different amount of V-stitches. That will depend on your size. I'm ready to start round 2. Into the chain 1 space of the next V-stitch I make a slip stitch. Now I make a beginning V-stitch the same way as I did in round 1. So first I make 4 chains, 3, 4, and then into the same space I make a double crochet. So here I have my first V-stitch. Then into the chain space of the next V-stitch I make a V-stitch, a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. And again into the next V-stitch I will make a V-stitch, and that's all I do. I just make a V-stitch into each V-stitch around. Here I completed another round of V-stitches, and just like before I joined this round with a slip stitch into the third chain of the beginning chain 4. And from this point I will continue repeating round 3 over and over again. All I need to do now is to make V-stitch into each V-stitch. So after round 3 you just continue crocheting around, repeating round 3 until your crochet piece reaches about 16 inches long over here. As you can see, this is my piece. It looks quite pretty. When you're making this piece for yourself, you might want to make it a bit longer or a bit shorter depending on your height. From this point we need to make armholes. So we will now crochet in rows, not in rounds. And I start the way I did before, a slip stitch and beginning V-stitch. And I continue crocheting V-stitch into each V-stitch, but I will not complete the entire round. I will only go halfway through. So I have 32 V-stitches in total. So I will only crochet 16 V-stitches right now, because 32 divided by 2 gives me 16. So look, so far I've made 4 V-stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I need to make 12 more. Here I made 16 V-stitches, which is exactly half of my entire round. And at this point I will turn my work and I will continue back. So now I will continue working back and forth in rows. I make a slip stitch into the V-stitch. I make my beginning V-stitch. And again I just make a V-stitch into each V-stitch across. And I will continue crocheting this way, back and forth, back and forth. Over here I crocheted on one side only. I crocheted in rows and I crocheted for 7 inches. I'm making size small, so 7 inches is for size small. If you're making a larger size, add 1 inch for every consecutive size. I'm going to fasten off now and I will attach the yarn to the other side and I will crochet on the other side. On this side I attach the yarn into the first unworked V-stitch and I make a beginning V-stitch. And now I continue crocheting across, making a V-stitch into every V-stitch. Here I am at the last V-stitch. At this point I will turn my work and continue crocheting in rows. I make a slip stitch into the V-stitch. I make the beginning V-stitch. And I continue crocheting back and forth in rows, making a V-stitch into every V-stitch. So here I crocheted in rows on this side, and I have 11 rows on this side and 10 rows on this side. So I would want to join back into the round and continue crocheting in rounds, and I want the joint to be at my row 11. So here is how I do it. I start the 11th row with 3 chains and then I make a slip stitch into the third chain of this chain 4 of the V-stitch of the second side. Over here like this. I make a slip stitch. Then I make one chain and I make a double crochet into the chain space of the first V-stitch on this side. So now, as you can see over here, my V-stitches are joined at the top of row 11. And now I continue crocheting row 11, just making a V-stitch into every V-stitch. And now over here at the end of my row 11, I also join with a slip stitch to the top double crochet of this V-stitch on the other side. Okay, so now I have my crochet in round again. You can see it right here, and I can continue crocheting in rounds just the way I did on the bottom part over here. I make a slip stitch into the chain 1 space of the next V-stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a double crochet. That's my first V-stitch of this round, and I continue crocheting V-stitches now in the round. I continue crocheting in the round. This is what it looks like over the joint, and this is quite simple from this point. I just continue crocheting in the round. Now I crocheted after joining into the round for 10 inches, and now I will make my last round. And for the last round I will simply make a round of single crochets. I start with one chain and make a single crochet into the same space as joining, then into the next chain 1 I make a single crochet, and I make a single crochet into the next double crochet. Then again a single crochet into the next double crochet, a single crochet into chain 1 space, and a single crochet into the double crochet. And just like this I will make one round of single crochets, and I will fasten off. Here I am at the end of this round. I joined this round with a slip stitch to the first single crochet, and I fasten off. Now I will work my arm openings, so I attach the yarn and I will work a round of single crochets. So over here I will be working in end of rows, so basically into the V-stitch, and into each V-stitch I will make 2 single crochets. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and I continue this way all the way around my arm opening. I join this round with the slip stitch, fasten off, and I will work the other arm opening the same way, and my top will be done.